Hi, I'm Gary Summers, and through my radio show, Mind, Body, Soul, and after with my Facebook group page of the same name, Mind, Body, Soul, I met some incredible wellness professionals through the interviews that I've done with them. You know, we've just come through a terrible pandemic, and I think all of us are feeling the effects of it. So I reached out to these wellness professionals and asked them, could they give us their thoughts on how the pandemic affected them, what they did to help, and what some strategies they used as we move forward. So I'm going to introduce you to these people now and let them explain how they dealt with it. And of course, the video that you're about to see, I reached out to a good friend of mine, Jim Desautel. He's a videographer, including drone technology, and a web developer and a graphic designer. So what you're about to see is the result of his hard work. So I want you to just take a listen, and you'll get some ideas and strategies that can help you move forward as we leave this terrible 2 years, believe it or not, behind us.
During the pandemic, I found myself having to practice what I preach at an even greater degree. So everything to help find my own peace, knowing that the peace I created within myself would spread to everyone around me, and that was the greatest gift that I could give to anyone. And so I filled my days with things that would raise my vibration. And that meant starting the day with yoga and dancing and meditation. The pandemic made it even more necessary to go into nature, to ground to Mother Earth, but also to connect to spirit, to the elements. Skating, hiking, and creating videos, and to share my love of creativity. For example, recently I offered a few intuitive painting workshops. It was about going deep into the layers of self-awareness and tuning into intentions and inner guidance.
One of the things that's really helped me find a way through has been using both of these movement practices that I teach to help people find some joy through movement. So my classes moved online when it was impossible to meet in person, and they're just a fabulous way to bring out your inner 5-year-old to play. And it actually proved to me that you can form a community and have that human connection even if you're not in the same room.
When the pandemic just started, I was already in a place where I was closing down a business I had run for about 15 years. And so I decided to go back to school. I'm in my 50s, and I thought, well, why not? And it would give me some time to make some other changes. It was something I had control over. So we need to decide, what is the priority for me? What are my priorities in life? And how do I put them in place now?
I was present at Carl's funeral home at the first outbreak. So the fear of the unknown, of testing and self-isolation, was taken out of the picture for me right away. I needed to be fully present for myself. I recognized how much I could do, and I let go of the job that I had. So I started offering my yoga online, free on Facebook and on Zoom. That gave me the opportunity to connect with my friends, because I had to focus on my own self-care routines in order to offer those self-care routines to other people.
So coincidentally, as I make this video, I'm currently have COVID and also going through a depression. So what do I do in these times? 3 things. So the first one is mindfulness. So mindfulness basically is the practice of noticing what's coming up in our mind and coming back just to our breathing. So we're training the mind basically to not get caught up in thoughts. Instead of trying to fix them, it's more about soothing. The third thing I would call interconnection. When I'm going through a depression, what I actually do is I try to actually bring on the depression of all the people in the whole world who are going through depression. And I know that may sound counterintuitive, but what happens is you feel less alone. Anyway, I hope this helped. I know it's helped me, and thank you very much.
I actually gave birth to my first child in March of 2020, 2 weeks into the pandemic and all of the shutdowns. So this already sensitive and emotional time not only brought fear into my birthing experience, in which I had to enter into alone, but it further isolated me as a new mom from social and mental support that would otherwise accompany me at this time. The pandemic also brought challenges to my professional life. It resulted in the closure of my business for a period of time, one of which has never fully recovered and has changed quite dramatically. I fortunately have over the years created a wide variety of tools that help me cope with stress, anxiety, and depression. And these would be things like going out for a walk, getting sunshine first thing in the morning, making sure that I prioritize sleep. So the advice that I have for moving forward is that we have to be kind to ourselves and to our neighbors.
Hi, my name is Lisa Shepard. I am a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids from a small town in Newfoundland. I originally was getting ready to launch a program for my company online, and when the pandemic hit, I had to pivot and slow down big time. My focus quickly became, instead of launching a new business, it became, okay, how do I manage things at home and keep everything happy? And we focused on things that brought us joy. We ate meals together, we cooked meals together, and we moved our body every day, meditating, giving myself grace, lowering stress. That was the key. Keep stress low, keep joy high.
My name is Joan Dowie, and as an extrovert, the pandemic was pretty rough on me, especially in the beginning. I quickly realized that I had to come up with some kind of a routine and formula that kept me feeling good in a healthy way. Certain things I had to do: eat good food, move my body. So supposing it was a walk, it was dancing in the house, it was riding on the exercise bike, whatever it might be, just to move my body. Spend time every week with friends, supposing it was on a phone call or on Zoom. I learned to meditate during the pandemic and then became a meditation teacher so that I can help other people figure out the solace and the grounding that you can get from meditating. It's been a learning experience for what I need and what I can do sensibly. And going forward, I'll continue to follow that routine and to tweak it as needed and feel good in a healthy way.
I've been asked to briefly talk about how I dealt with the pandemic. The simple answer is I was really busy studying for graduate school and working on my business. I didn't really have time to worry. My primary focus in my line of work is analyzing how movement, nutrition, and recovery interventions interface with and optimize the health of all of the major organ systems of the body. So think immune system, digestive system, cardiovascular system. I was put in a very unique position because I'm a kinesiologist and a nutritionist. It gave me an opportunity to study how those protocols that I mentioned earlier could optimize and support immune function in this particular case. It led me to the conclusion that the most responsible way to address COVID-19 was with multiple lifestyle interventions, not just the vaccine.
I knew that the anxiety in my body that I was feeling wasn't healthy. And so one of the things, the coping mechanisms that I used, was to stop watching the news. Because then it stopped the full intake, the everyday programming intake of these news stations. So that's the biggest thing, I think, that, the impact and what I did to cope at that time. But the other things, the tools that I used and continue to use today, one, and probably the most important one, is breathing. Given the day and age of mindfulness and meditation and how important those things are to us and to our health, it's equally as important to breathe properly for your health. The other thing I would suggest would be a gratitude journal. Gratitude is so important in life, and it brings such benefits for the body, the mind, the soul. So when you're grateful for something, then that produces beautiful chemical reactions within the body that help heal, that help you feel great about yourself and about life, even despite big things happening like pandemics. The only other thing that I would suggest to you, and my last thing, would be smile. Smile often, smile large, even underneath those masks. Smile because people can see it in your eyes. And smiling does your body as good as anything else you could put in it.
Certainly challenging times that we've been going through, hasn't it? I know. It's also been a wonderful opportunity for me to truly live and breathe what I teach and do simple things to help me be healthy and well. So one of the first things I did was I have a daily practice that helps me move what I call from the ego-driven drama, where I'm sure I'm not the only one that gets stuck in fear and limiting ideas, thoughts, and beliefs. So I had a practice where I would learn how to shift my focus from my mind that was worried and fearful to my heart, not to run away from the challenge, but where I could be in a more grounded and empowered place to see solutions. The second thing I did was to make sure that I went outside in the natural world amongst Mother Earth and around the water. There have been hundreds of studies that show that nature helps people to heal, and I've witnessed that firsthand with my family and friends. The other thing that I did was I reached out to family and friends, and I know in this time of self-isolation, a lot of, touch with other people, in touch and communication has been lost. But that's why reaching out and calling a friend or FaceTiming or Zoom, that really has made such a big difference.
It left me without work, figuring out, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? I had other plans made for the beginning of the year, and then finding ways to be creative and to network with people. So it taught me to slow down, to take a step back, and to reevaluate a lot of things in all my life. And I met some amazing people, had virtual coffee breaks just to reconnect with new people, colleagues, form partnerships, but also to reconnect with family and friends. Found movies that made me laugh, listen to music, and I could dance in the kitchen while I cook some great food. I don't often get time to do so I enjoyed making bone broths and things that take more time. I always had diffusers with essential oils all around me. I would make herbal teas and chaga and elderberry flower to boost my immune system to keep me healthy.
For me, a few things happened. One was I was in a privileged position where I could just pack up and leave, and I did. I left the country for 4 months. I went to visit family and friends in the States and felt more free. I also went to weather where I could be outdoors, and that was really helpful. I made Zoom dates with people. I tried to make walk dates with people who lived in my neighborhood. I exercised regularly. If there's one thing that I learned from the pandemic is how much we need each other. The whole joy of life is when we're with other people, sharing experiences with them, and really enjoying our lives fully in the moment.
First, the initial is just fear. It installed so much fear in me. And the hardest part was in the beginning, not being able to see my grandkids. That just about broke my heart. So what I did was, in the beginning, I stopped watching the news. I spent more time outdoors, hiking the East Coast Trail in the summer and fall. I used FaceTime to connect with my grandkids when I couldn't see them in person and read stories to them, and that helped me a great deal. And of course, I kept planning my body, mind, and spirit retreats. They give me hope. I plan as if it's all going to happen.
I'm a mom of 3 kids and 2 dogs. And I think, like everyone, it was difficult. And then I think for me it was about supporting people through it, which I'm used to doing, supporting people through things. So it was about safety and security and health, trying to get through every day for myself and then the people closest to me in my household, and really starting to nourish my own health so that I could be the best I could to handle anything coming my way. So that was about good sleep and the best food we could get, and levity and fun, and filling our time with healthy things like being outside. And then I think the next step was about letting go and letting us have really bad days and not being critical and self-critical about that. It's been a long time without normalcy, so it's about finding a new normal, and hopefully it will be a better normal.
My name is Brenda Kelleher-Flight with GDP Consulting, and I want to share with you some strategies I used during COVID. The first was to control my state. Am I grounded? Am I engaged? Am I positive? Am I really with the person? Number two was to look at things from other people's points of view. So I look at my point of view, their point of view, and then I try and step back and look at things from a neutral point of view. And third, I recognize that all behavior, even the most negative, had positive intentions.
This, pandemic of the last 2 years took me off guard and really pushed me out of my comfort zone in so many ways. It forced me to find another way to work, to reevaluate, what was important to me. So what I used during this time was I fell back on some of old processes and techniques that I've developed over the years. Meditation, spending time alone in contemplation, in study. I did a lot of learning. And of course, I did also, spend lots of time resting and taking good care, in particular, taking care of my relationships. So my advice for you moving forward would be to remember that all of those things are important. Community is so important, but also developing inner gifts is really, really important. And I'd say nature is your greatest ally.
My Uncle Roy, who at the age of 90 succumbed to COVID in New York City, he was an icon in our family. No one ever could imagine him gone. It's like a mighty oak. Going back to around June of 2020, several months after I found out about the pandemic, I realized that my work had suffered quite a bit. A number of things had been canceled. It was impossible to plan some other things. And so I realized, well, maybe it's a good time to write a book. So I've been thinking about a particular topic to do with mindfulness. So I started on that and worked pretty single-mindedly, I'd say, till November on the project. So it gave me a wonderful, substantial project. There's one project that did go ahead in the spring of that year, which was suicide prevention, helping people who are struggling with suicidal thoughts with mindfulness training. For me, I think expecting uncertainty is probably the best way to go, and to be ready for things to change. So for example, we have a summer meditation retreat every year that we normally do at Conception Bay Renewal Center, Conception Harbor, so we do it in person. We're planning this one in July to be in person. So we go through all of the planning associated with that, realizing in the back of our mind, if things change radically, we're going to have to go back to Zoom. And so of course we're using Zoom for all sorts of things, but I think getting used to that flexibility and sort of baking that into the cake whenever something's being planned, I could look at that as being a very positive thing, that it's sort of forcing us to be flexible in ways that we maybe would not have thought of before.
The hardest part I found is not being able to see my immediate family, so my parents, my sisters, my nieces and nephew, especially during times when I felt that they might have needed extra support. I managed to cope with the pandemic mainly by making sure I was taking care of my own health, so eating well, exercising, doing things that I specifically needed to do just for me. I mean, being locked in a house with my husband and my kids, who I love dearly, sometimes I really had to make sure that I was doing things to refill my own cup, so even if that was just to take a bath and go read, or spend a weekend up at the cabin by myself, my recommendations really are to continue to do those same things. Make sure that you are getting out, getting some sun, which is going to help your mood, help your immune system. Meditate, journal. And none of these need to be huge health shifts, so just take one step at a time and do the things that you need to do, but start by making small habit changes.
How has the pandemic impacted me? Mostly the fear of the unknown and the isolation. We're not meant to be isolated for long periods of time. So what has helped me is the use of essential oils, and I have been using these with families for almost 7 years now. Our sense of smell is directly connected to the limbic system in the brain and is one of the quickest ways to access the brain and change our mood. And while you're at it, say something beautiful to yourself. Positive affirmations are incredibly effective for elevating your mood. So advice moving forward would be to most definitely incorporate oils into your lifestyle. And I would also advise getting outside, get some fresh air, move your body, let the vitamin D sink into your skin, and also be mindful of what you're eating. If the body feels nourished, then it's much, much easier to take on a positive mood state.
I found that I was faced with really looking at my routines, my dynamics, how I was doing life. It really forced me to look at how I was regulating myself. And when I did take a long, hard look, there was room for change, to slow down, to take a deep look at what I was doing, how I was relating to others, how I was regulating my emotions, how I was maybe escaping things and not really dealing with things. So when everything shut down, it threw me for a loop. My anxiety was heightened, there was bouts of depression, and all that impacted how I was with my kids and all the other relationships and roles that I had. I found that by going outside, taking breaks, disconnecting in order to reconnect was one of my greatest strategies. Turning off the news, getting away from social media, even disengaging from conversations that were not serving me and only heightening my emotions. Getting support, even professional support, was huge in how I was managing and how I was learning more about myself. To anyone else who has struggled or is struggling, is that you can get better. You can learn how to manage your emotions, how to not focus on the things that you have no control over.
In the beginning, it was difficult. I am in a home of a family of 4 with 2 boys. This created quite a bit of tension as we were always in the home, but we found peace and comfort in going outside for walks every day. Getting in nature, keeping grounded really did help us to keep our energy high and to actually feel more connected to just the energy around us. I set up a private Facebook group which has many people in it, and on a weekly basis I would go live in there. On these lives I would send Reiki to whoever wanted it, and it created a space of connection, a space of love, a space of healing. We are social beings, and as a result, we needed and lacked social interaction. And so I opened up that beautiful Facebook group and hosted free live streaming meditations for healing. So the greatest learning that I got from just this whole experience of COVID is that I need to focus on what I feel inside. I need to focus on my own reactions to the things that are happening around me and really take a deep dive on why I feel the way that I feel about something. So that would be my advice for people, is to really pause, take a deep breath, and really feel, go inward and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this trigger? And really sit with yourself and journey inward.
The pandemic has really opened my eyes to a lot of things. One of the things is that we realized how our health is so important. Exercising was an important thing for me throughout the pandemic. Eating. We've all probably put on a couple of extra COVID pounds, but I have found that I've gotten some great recipes and tried some lovely new things that I maybe not would have tried before. Also, life has become a little simpler, which I think is something that we all needed. Everybody was, wanted this, wanted that. And really, when you have your health, life can be, you don't have to have a whole lot of other things, and life can be pretty simple, but you can still be pretty happy. I really hope that this Be Kind slogan really carries forward into the post-pandemic era that we're entering in. And, we just all have to get along.
Well, there you have it. 25 wellness professionals who have given you some advice on how you can find your way back to some sense of normal. And I hope even if every one of you managed to get one strategy that can take some of the adversity and tension away from your life, well, this video has been worthwhile. Thanks very much for watching.